Why, hello everybody, and thanks for joining us today on This Is Drive. I'm Kyle Edward, and we are going to be taking a in-depth look and review at the 2018 Jaguar epace. Now, I'm sure that a lot of you are going to butcher me on how I pronounce the name, but so be it. I know that some people are sometimes interested in what the key actually looks like, so that's why I decided to show it to you guys here. It's Jaguar on the back in silver here, and then it's a modest weight. It's not too heavy, but it's also not too cheap feeling, which I appreciate. A couple other nice things is that in order to open the back hatch, you only have to press that button one time. Unlike a lot of vehicles, you have to press it twice. It can be rather annoying. You can also activate the headlights as well through the key fob, which I think is something that is useful, that again very few brands actually offer. But anyway, enough about the key fob. Let's talk about the car, and that is Jaguar's new entry-level sport utility vehicle. It's really sort of a very compact SUV. It affords a lot of high-end Jaguar features and styling points. I mean, just looking at this car from afar here, you can see it's extremely stylish, especially in my opinion. The front is very aggressive, very dynamic looking. And then, as you step along to the rear, you sort of have that, classic Jag look. One that is definitely, very appealing to a lot of different people in this segment. Now, again, I will note that this is, definitely a very important car for Jaguar. Again, being the entry-level model, it starts, around $38,000, and they are just, very popular these days. All of these, sort of small SUVs are sort of taking over the marketplace. Also Volvo has introduced their XC40, which is also very popular and pretty much direct competition for this car. While they, again, are similar in size and what they offer, they are very different vehicles nevertheless. But there, along the back, we can see that, very sharp Jaguar styling. I mean, just that rear roof line, how it slopes down, and, the taillights, very appealing. It looks very, very nice. We have, the bottom dual exhaust is sort of poking out the back flat with the rear, and that really looks pretty cool in my opinion. And then we also can flap on the lights there, and you can see them right there. We have the Jaguar badge, of course, and to demonstrate, I have the key out. Press the button just one time, and it opens also relatively quickly, which is neat. Press it again, closes quickly. There are the logos. epace flashes to signify its closure. Yeah, there again, I mean, it's, of course, looks are relative, but, very stylish vehicle. It's available in a lot of vibrant paint colors. I think this is a pretty neat color as well. This is the SE model, so it's going to be, more luxury focused than they have, a sportier model. This is the P250 engine with all-wheel drive, which is the smaller of the two engines. They are both turbocharged, of course. Now to step inside, we also, of course, have the proximity key, so you press that to lock, and then sensors behind the door handles to open. The interior is, very interesting to me. Again, this is the higher end luxury model, going to be more focused on that versus, something really sporty. But the materials that they've used here are very high-end, very good quality, nice stitching along the door panels. We have, 3 different seat memories, which is great for both the passenger and driver. This material up here on the top of the door, actually very soft. It's definitely still comfortable to rest your hand up on there. Just looking at the design here of the door panel, I think it's very unique, very Jaguar. It has a lot of different angles and curves going in several different directions. It looks pretty cool. They've worked the speakers into the door panels very nicely. I might add this good metal trim right here, door panel. Looking there, we have the optional seat adjustments. I mean, we have a lot going on here. I mean, this right here adjusts the front. We can actually adjust the side bolsters with this right here. lumbar support, of course, forward, back, up, down, forward. So a lot of different seat controls right there. Very, very comfortable seats. I mean, they are extremely soft. Feels like, something out of a, very high-end Jaguar, not something that's, more on the entry-level side. Also, the quilting in the seats looks pretty cool. I definitely appreciate that as well. I like this particular trim for the interior. It's the, black and cream. Step inside here. A couple things to note, though. Don't understand. We have this, very soft materials on the door panels and the seats, and then for the steering wheel, we get this very, fake faux leather. Feels like something that just came out of a Ford Focus. I kid you not. So I'm not sure where that came from, but definitely an oversight, and hopefully they fix that, next generation. But otherwise, the interior is, yeah, it's very pleasant. Sort of follows that exterior vibe, being very sporty. We have the signature Jaguar, drive controller right here with the trigger on the back. Different drive mode selections. But let's go ahead and, start up. It's, of course, push to start. Full panoramic view moonroof. Does not open. It's stationary. That is for the glass roof. This has the digital infotainment, gauge cluster and infotainment system, of course. There's a lot going on this cluster. I mean, it is somewhat complicated to use, to be completely honest with you. There's a menu button, and then you go through all of these different menus, and let's say you want to go to the vehicle info, you'd press OK, and then there's just lots of menus within lots of menus. Again, it's not terrible once you get used to it, but it is definitely something that's a little bit complex. And even if we want to just look at the trip, you have to select OK, you select the trip bank, then let's say you want the A trip bank. Well, that's great. Now, in order to go back to the screen, you have to go back, cycling through the buttons to get to that bank. Similar, again, with all the different menus. Looking at the blinker controls, I really think that, I know it's not a big deal, but this is a really nice size for the blinker control. It also has the rear lights too in fog. They're a super bright, sort of singular LED red light that this stays stationary. It looks good again at nighttime. But back to this, good size. I think they feel of good quality, and yeah, that's appreciated. Similar here, we have of course the auto rear as well. That's good. A lot of plastic right here, where the push to start button is. It's all right. Again, I feel like they could have done a little bit of a better job with this interior plastic right here, and that's kind of what I say about the interior. A little bit strange. You have on one end of things, the seats are incredibly comfortable. The door panels are great. I think it's a phenomenal design. It looks very stunning, very visually appealing. And then you have the a lot some pretty cheap plastic on the inside. All of the climate control is basically worked right in here. You also can go in manually too within this multimedia system, which I will sort of dig into now. This system, I really do like how it looks. It's very crisp, very clean. I haven't had too many problems with it, although I will say that when I go into the reverse, sometimes the backup camera doesn't work, and that's a problem that a lot of people have actually been having. Haven't had it happen as much as maybe other people. It's working fine now, but something that's kind of annoying. Obviously, you go to put in your backup camera, and now as is a $55,000 Jaguar, and it's not working. So that's pretty annoying. But it also does feature the 360-degree view, which is fantastic. Guidance lines, which turn as you turn the wheel in the car. But back to this system, very responsive. I haven't actually had any problems other than the backup camera, which is good. Very responsive here. Really no complaints other than that. I really like how it's laid out. You can also adjust what's shown where on this screen, so it's reconfigurable. And then to get to the map, you can actually change what this is there, back there. So yeah, pretty intuitive. It takes a little bit of getting used to. It's maybe slightly more complex than some of the other systems, but overall I like it. Definitely a big step up from where they were previously. Now I just want to, go back to the audio here. I will say this Meridian sound system, stunning. I mean, it truly is one of the best stereo systems that I have really ever experienced in any car ever, let alone this particular, Jaguar. It's absolutely stunning. This, the clear vocals, the deep bass that comes out of these speakers is just absolutely incredible. Could not, more highly recommend this premium audio system. It's better than Bose, right on par, with like some Bang & Olufsen systems, very high-end systems and very expensive Audis. Very impressive. I also think the dials for the temperature controls are really cool. I like the font they used, and then also to, adjust your seat. Maybe you want it heated or cooled. You just press in, and then you adjust it like that. Or then cooled would be that way if it was optioned. Of course, you can turn it off with that button, back on. Auto stop start off button, very much appreciated. A lot of cars don't have that. It makes it very annoying. This, no problem, press it, turn off right away. Different drive modes are selected via this control right here next to the gear shifter. It will activate a different screen. For instance, dynamic mode will change the gauges red for a minute. I haven't noticed a ton of difference between driving in the two modes. I mean, the car in and as of itself, is very aggressive. It's very sporty. They're not kidding when they said, they wanted to make it, a very sporty driver. It is. Sport mode's really not needed, to be completely honest with you. I really think this shifter is cool. I like how it looks, is how it plays, in the interior design of the car. Foot on the brake, trigger, drive, has a sport mode, manual mode, reverse again, trigger, and then to park, you just press the button. So yeah, overall, I really like that. Steering wheel design is cool. Again, we had some, again, mentioned the quality issues with the faux leather. But as far as, the design, it's 3-spoke, very sporty, feels good to hold. I like the, has a nice, amount of side bolster, there on the steering wheel to grab onto, very comfortable. Definitely good for, a sporty driving experience. So yeah, overall I'd say the interior, really good design. The tech is useful. Could use, a little bit of, upgrade as far as, reliability, but overall, interior, good. I like, the design's definitely 10 of 10. I'd say quality is right about average for this segment. Again, the steering wheel kind of really, gives it a few dings. The seats are incredibly comfortable. And yeah, I think it's, very dynamic how it plays out, and it fits, the vehicle's statue really well, being, very sporty. So now let's go ahead and take the Jaguar epace for a drive, go over some numbers from that, some pricing information, and we'll call it a day after that. Now I'm going to clear up a few questions that you guys probably have about the epace, which is really, a compact performance luxury SUV. It really does have, sports car looks on the exterior, very dynamic, sporty interior as well, which I really do like, the styling points of this vehicle a lot. Now the epace comes with two different engine options. They're dubbed P250 for the base and P300 for the more potent engine. They're both 2-liter, they're both turbocharged, and they're both 4-cylinder. Obviously one's pumping out a little more horsepower and torque than the other. So now for the P250 engine, we're going to be looking at about 246 horsepower and 269 pound-feet of torque. For the P300, which is the larger engine, we're looking at 296 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. For the more powerful engine, it's enough to get it to 60 in about 5.9 seconds, and the P250 gets it to 60 in about 6.6 seconds. So obviously both very powerful engines, but this kind of depends on what exactly you want as far as your driving styles and which engine you prefer. Now the epace has sort of an interesting setup as far as trim levels go. In order to get the more powerful engine, it's only available on the R Dynamic models. Those start about $47,000, and while the standard epace starts about $38,600, obviously a large price gap there to get the more powerful engine. I thought the base engine I have here, the epace ESE with the the P250 is probably going to be the most luxury geared model, the SE that they have. Is more than enough power. The 6.6 seconds 0 to 60 is very quick indeed. Again, they're all-wheel drive, which is nice, so you get that more additional grip. And of course, they can be pretty expensive. Fully loaded epace SE with P250. We're close to $55,000 here out the door. I'm not saying it's not worth it, and this class, is priced, at that level, so it's nothing really out of the ordinary, but still definitely something to think about. If you really want this, small, sporty SUV, you're really going to have to pay for it. They have torque vectoring via braking, which is, a very dynamic thing. Most of the cars, all-wheel drive system, give you more support during cornering. It gives you the effects of torque vectoring rear differential, balancing the difference of the engine torque between all four wheels during cornering. Obviously improves grip, reduces understeer, and gives more confidence when you're driving on the back roads. So that's definitely a nice feature to have. A couple other things to keep in mind about this car is it's really going to be at the peak of dynamic, sporty driving vehicles in this segment. Being a Jaguar, I can just tell you from the moment I stepped into this car, started driving it. I mean, the steering, just even comfort mode, is just incredibly responsive. Maybe too responsive for some. I mean, just the tiniest little bit of movement in the wheel, is going to be giving you that directional change, and some people may not like that. I mean, you can really, let me tell you, you can really take curves quickly in this car and feel very confident. I mean, it is just like glued to the road. Again, there's a trade-off. Not quite, maybe as comfortable as some of the other cars in this segment, which focus more on comfort versus sporty driving characteristics. This is definitely, again, going to be for those of you who really want that sporty driving experience, and they're willing to sacrifice a little bit of ride quality to do so. Now, moving along a little bit too, talking about the transmission. This is ZF's 9-speed in this car, and it frankly could use a little bit more of a little bit more working out of the kink, shall we say. I mean, the power delivery isn't quite as smooth and linear as I would like it to be. It's a bit choppy, and there's also a little bit of noticeable turbo lag as when you drop the hammer from a dead stop. But again, I was expecting this 9-speed to be just a little bit more refined than it is. Not to say that I've had really any real gripes about it, but I just feel like for the price point of this vehicle and what the ZF name has become, I'm slightly disappointed with that. But all in all, this is geared for those like myself, who you really like sporty drive. And with that said, I personally really enjoyed this car, but others may be just a bit too much for for them to handle. But with that said, I'm really happy that Jaguar has introduced the epace. It's an incredibly hot looking vehicle. It's very dynamic, both on the exterior design, on the interior, as well as this, the driving capabilities as well. So definitely staying true to the, Jaguar heritage. The brand is being, very sporty, and sort of, a racing type brand. So happy to see that they haven't changed, their foundations for this vehicle. And, I think a lot of people really appreciate this car for what it is. And, well, that's all we have for you guys today. I hope that you enjoyed this review of the 2018 Jaguar epace P250 SE.